So before I go ahead and talk about how many search head we have, how many indexers we have, and why we need different type of indexers, let's talk about the licensing of Splunk, right? Then we'll talk about the continue with the architecture in detail. Splunk licensing. So let's talk about Splunk licensing. Splunk licensing, right? So Splunk uses the license any component of the Splunk which uh, which index the logs require the license. If any component do not index the logs, do not require the paid license. That means if you apply also on the license, it will not utilize. You will have to apply, but it will not use the license. That means what your license is bought, right? It will not use. You just have to apply the license, but it will not use. Got it? So you just keep in mind any component of Splunk, if it is indexing the logs, in that case, it will use the license. So which component is indexing the logs?
Indexer.
Indexer. Ideally, indexer is the component which index the log and store the logs, right? But however, in this architecture that you have seen for now, heavy forwarder, right? Heavy forward send the logs to the indexer, and indexer store the logs, and your search head search the logs on indexer, right? Mute mic, please. Oh, who is not mute? Chandrapal. So in this case, in this architecture that we talk about, so the functionality of heavy forwarder, we understand it collects the logs, parse the logs, right? Filter out the logs and forward to the indexer. Ideally, by default, heavy forwarder do not index and store the logs. The default setting of the heavy forwarder is not to index the logs, right? However, you have the setting. Once you configure forwarding, the default forwarding setting is not to store the logs, not to store local copy of the logs, right? However, if you want that, it should forward the logs to the destination as well as save a local copy on the heavy forwarder. You understand, right? Every Splunk enterprise have all the functionality. It can receive, forward, store also, and search also. Searching also it has. So in some special condition, if you want that, okay, this heavy forwarder, I want to forward the logs, but I want to store a local copy of the logs. If you store the local copy of logs, you have search bar also. Using that, you can search the logs also, right? In this case, your heavy forwarder is forwarding the logs, but it is indexing and storing the logs also. Yes or no? And just keep in mind, any component which index the logs will use the license. If any logs you import on the Splunk, the logs are already indexed, then they will be directly written in the disk. It will not go through the indexing pipeline. I mean, license meter will not come in the picture. Any logs you can upload if logs are already indexed. Get a mind? Understand what I'm saying? If logs are already indexed, you can import it, not use license. That means any component which indexed means logs which are coming without index and getting indexed, license meter will run and it will count for the license, right? So when you're for collecting log forwarding, do not storing, not require the paid license. But in case you want to apply the indexing, means storing the local copy of the logs, in that case, you have to apply the paid license, which is by default disable, collect the log, forward the logs, right? Indexers, of course, its main is indexing only. So indexer will use the license. Search head do not store the logs, only search the logs on indexer, do not use the paid license. You have to apply, but it will not use the license because it's not indexing the logs. Understand? Clear? Concept is clear? Everyone?
Can you repeat it? I don't understand actually.
The precise is if any Splunk component do not index the logs, will not utilize the paid license. You may have to apply it to work, but it will not use the license, because whenever logs are coming, if it is not indexing the logs, it will not go to indexing pipeline. In indexing pipeline, there is a license meter, right? In indexing pipeline only, there is a license meter. Yes or no? Get it, mind? So when it will store, means it has to go with the license meter, with license indexing pipeline and license meter. That time it will count for the license, but it's collecting, forwarding, not storing, not going to indexing pipeline, will not use the license. Got it?
Got it.
Clear?
Got it.
So any component which index the logs, store the logs, will use the license. Any component do not index the logs, will not use the license. If any indexed logs already indexed, for example, some other Splunk component has indexed the logs, and after indexing, you are just copying the logs here, will not use the license. Get in mind? Whenever unindexed log, fresh logs are coming in the Splunk, will have to index, will go through the license meter. For example, if you have some other indexes, some other indexer, right? If you have some other indexer here, if you want to copy those logs from another indexer, those logs are already indexed, you can just copy here and store here. It will not use the license. It will not count for the license. And if fresh logs are coming, it has to parse index, right? It will go through the license meter. Understand? So in this case, ideally, indexers are using the license. And whatever logs are coming, indexers are being calculated for the license usage. Got it? Clear? Yes or no?
Yes, clear.
Yes.
Now let's talk about what are different type of licensing model available in the Splunk. Different type of licensing models are available on the Splunk. First is free trial. Splunk free trial license. You know what happens? Before I talk about the licensing, Splunk calculate the license based on GB per day. GB per day. Splunk license calculates based on the GB per day. GB per day. You understand about? Bhaiya, please mute your mic once you're done with your question. Amlesh, I have to mute you. What I'm saying is, the Splunk license is being calculated based on the GB per day. That means how much GB of data per day your indexer is indexing. Based on that, you have to buy the license. If you're receiving, for example, if your indexer is receiving, Splunk is receiving 10 GB data per day, then 10 GB per day license will be utilized, and you have to buy 20 GB per day, 100 GB per day, 500 GB per day, 2 TB per day, right? That is the measure of license. That is how you measure the license, how calculate the license. But the logs that we have, right? The logs that we have, how we understand the storage, because so what do you think that? How we'll understand? Because number of the events are coming on number, right? Not on the size. Yes or no? It is not like other simple, like for example, ArcSight. ArcSight use the license based on the event per second and total event per day. You can buy the license for 10,000 event per second, 20,000 event per second. So per second, how much event are coming on the SIM? And ArcSight calculator. There are many other SIM tool which follow the same model. But in case for the Splunk, it calculates the license based on the GB per day. That means how much is the size of event per day? How many event come? That means how much the total size of the event per day. Based on that, it will calculate for the license. Now it's very difficult, right? How we calculate the size, because there are different devices and different size of the event. So let me tell you what is the average size generally, probable size. For example, Windows generate the event, and on an average, Windows event size around 400 to 400 byte. Around 400 to 400 byte. Firewall generate the event and size around 150 byte. Linux generate the event and size around 200 bytes, right? So when you talk about SIEM solution, in our network, we have different type of devices, different type of vendors. Some vendors generate the logs a higher size, some vendors generate the logs on the lower size, right? That in that case, the calculation will be very difficult. Splunk says that no need to worry. We are actually not going to calculate the size of index size based on the particular device logs. We'll calculate based on the flat. Whichever device forwarding the logs, we calculate on the average size, because some are 400 byte, 500 byte, 200 byte, 150 byte. The average size will be flat 200 byte per second, 200 byte. Splunk says that every event will consider 200 byte. Understand what I'm saying? So either Windows forwarding the event, because every company will have the mixed devices logs, right? Not a single device. Splunk says that calculation will be difficult. In that case, we calculate particular event size is 200 byte for the licensing, not for storage. Storage you can calculate the same, but sometimes it will be little different, because it depends on the different type of majority of different type of devices. However, for storage also you can consider 200 byte, because anyways storage, if you calculate in this way, you can add the storage. If it is less, you have option to add the storage, right? But from a Splunk perspective, licensing perspective, you can configure one event size 200 byte, right? So once we take a project, when we talk about, we got a project and discovered all deployment, sizing, solutioning, that time we'll discuss how much license is required for our project deployment, right? How we can calculate different devices and total how much license is needed. Get in mind? Understand, everybody? So in this way you can calculate. So for example, you have 50 GB of per day. If you calculate, so you have to check it out, right? How many event per second it is coming to. Then one event size 200 byte. Then 5,000 event which are coming per second. Then how much will be the size in the byte? Then how much will be in GB? 1 second this much GB. Then 60 seconds this much. Then 1 day how much? You have to calculate total size in GB. Understand? Based on that, you have to buy the license. Understand? So Splunk license comes with GB per day license. Means per day, how much GB of data you can receive in the Splunk. Based on that, you have to buy the license, right? Whenever in the Splunk console, you can see how much GB per day today you have received, how much yesterday you have received. The full history of utilization you can see on the Splunk console. Get your mind clear? Anybody has any confusion here?
One question.
Yes.
When we calculating the EPS, means obviously that is the first question you have been asked from any of the SIEM vendor, that how much the EPS would be there.
Right.
Then how is there any kind of a standard way of calculating the EPS?
A standard
Obviously,
way. I'll be talking about. I said, right, I will run one project and we'll talk about end to end. How much the EPS,
Right.
how to calculate the EPS, right?
How
then
to
how much is
calculate.
size, how much license we bought, how much infrastructure, how many indexers, how many search chat, how many high forwarder, right? Everything we are going to solution here, like solution architect. What will be your approach?
Okay.
Okay. So I'm giving you the understanding just for this Splunk. Calculation we'll discuss on the later part. Okay. So this thing you understand, right? That Splunk licenses is based on the GB per day. Got it? So first license on the Splunk is free trial. Free trial means Splunk gives the free trial license for 60 days. 60 days free trial license. That means anybody can log in to splunk.com, can create the free account, right? And can download a Splunk Enterprise for 60 days trial period, right? In the free trial license, you have all the functionality of the Splunk Enterprise. Means what Splunk Enterprise functionality you can achieve from paid license. Same features you can have for the free license as well. But limitation is 60 days, and the index data size is 500 MB per day. Got it? That means that particular instance you can receive up to 500 MB per day. Clear this? Clear this?
Yes,
Okay. Next license is Splunk developer license. Splunk developer license. Splunk developer. Splunk developer license. There are some apps. I will tell you in the later part. Apps like add-on technology apps, which you can develop yourself. So to do some R&D, Splunk is giving some free license, which they call as developer license, right? So just to give some kind of freedom for developer to develop some application which you can publish in the Splunk store, right? Which will be used in the Splunk. So Splunk gives free license for developers that we call a Splunk developer license. Splunk developer license. If you request a Splunk developer license, Splunk developer gives you 10 GB per day license. 10 GB per day. Anybody can request this license. You can easily get it, right? If you want to do some practice, 500 MB data is not enough. You can fill the form and you can request for the Splunk developer license. They are not going to monitor whether you're developing or not, but you can get this license, which is 10 GB per day. Free license, free. 10 GB per day developer license for free. Developer license is not 60 days, more. It can be 6 months. It can be for 6 months. It depends now. They change the period time to time. But when I downloaded, I think 1 year back, it was for 6 months. Got it? Clear? Next license is Splunk Enterprise license. What license? Splunk Enterprise license, right? See, any license when you download, right? It has some license policies. If you think that I can have free developer license and I can use it 10 GB per day in my company, right? Get it? I mean, it's a violation of Splunk license uses policies, because when you download the license, it will give you disclaimer that it is only for R&D for developing purpose, not for the commercial use or not for any other purpose, right? So you are selecting yes after licensing policies, then only you are getting this license. If you misuse it, it will be a policy violation of the license. Got it? Got it, right? So so what happens is, again, this is enterprise license. If you want to install a Splunk enterprise security, that means SIEM feature, right? We understand last time that the separate app is coming that we call a Splunk enterprise security, which we deploy over the search head to see the real-time monitoring, correlation, alerting, right? So Splunk enterprise security app you can download. To download and use the Splunk enterprise security, you should have Splunk enterprise paid license. So all in this free license, you cannot download and use this Splunk enterprise security. For data analyst perspective, core architecture of Splunk you can deploy. Means search head, indexer, all this you can deploy. You can deploy multiple components and use the same. But for Splunk enterprise security, you must buy the license. Means that to achieve the SIEM feature, we must have the license. Then only we can use Splunk as a SIEM. Understand? So next license is Splunk enterprise. This is called as paid license. This license, paid license, whenever you buy the license, it will be paid license. It start from 10 GB onwards. It start from 10 GB per day onwards. That means if you have to buy, so how much license you want to buy? 10 GB, 20 GB, 50 GB, 100 GB, 2 TB, 4 TB, 5 TB, right? Per day. Based on that, you have to pay the cost. It calculate around 2,50,000 in India per GB. almost 2,50,000 per GB license, right? Of course, TB भी वो होता है, because Splunk is not only security, SIEM, Splunk data analytics tools also. There are many companies which are having different devices. They're collecting the data for data analytics perspective. They have TB of licenses per day, TB per day, right? So it costs around 2,50,000, per GB. Last time, 4 years back, and before, I used to buy 2 GB per day license. It cost me around 5 lakhs plus GST plus tax. But during the COVID time, they stopped giving retail license. They said we are not going to entertain you. Minimum you have to buy 10 GB per day license. They stopped giving 2 GB, 5 GB licenses, right? So 2.5 lakhs per GB per year. That means for for 20 GB, it comes around 23 lakhs, including tax, because they calculate like this. But when you call to sale people, they will give some discount. So we got the license for 23 lakhs per year for 10 GB. Recently, last month only, we had renewed the license. We got the new license last month only. So that is called as Splunk Enterprise. It has all the features and how much GB per day that you have to select. You have to buy the license. Based on that much of GB per day you can buy for a year. Understand? So it has all the functionalities, right? It will come with Splunk Enterprise plus Splunk Enterprise Security, right? So you have to buy the combo license in that case, Splunk Enterprise plus Splunk Enterprise Security, so that you can install the Splunk Enterprise Security as well, right? There's a paid license that you have to use. Give me a moment. Got it? Clear? Another license, one more license it is having. That is why Splunk free license. Free trial and free are different. Splunk free license is different and Splunk free trial is different. Free trial is having 500 MB per day data volume, having full feature of Splunk Enterprise that you get in paid license. 500 MB per day, valid for 60 days. Developer, based on the period they are going 6 months, 10 GB per day. Enterprise, based on your requirement, you can buy, valid for a year, right? And another Splunk license we call a Splunk free license. Splunk free license, free trial and free both are different. Splunk free license is free for lifetime. That means it's a perpetual license. This license will be called as perpetual license. That means it is free for lifetime, for 99 years. Get what I mean? So again, it is having indexing volume 500 MB per day. 500 MB per day for lifetime. But you can see free trial is also have 500 MB per day, right, for 60 days. But free Splunk free 500 MB per day lifetime. But it is different than free trial. Free trial has all the functions of Splunk Enterprise, but in free license, many of the feature will be disabled. Many of the features Splunk Enterprise will be disabled in case of free license. That means user creation. For example, when you log in, type the URL, it will ask you to log in, user and password. In case authentication will be disabled. Once you enter the link, automatically Splunk will open, all setting and all. The authentication feature will be disabled. You cannot create the user. I mean, you cannot configure different component. There are many other settings will be disabled, right? Just for lab environment or your own use, you can use free license. But many of the feature which is available in the Splunk Enterprise will not be working here, will be disabled. Get it, mind? So after 60 days of trial period, if you do not upgrade your license to Splunk Enterprise, automatically Splunk free trial license will be switched to free license. That means you can still access your Splunk Enterprise, but it will convert to the free trial, free license after, and will work for lifetime. Understand? So free trial, free license. So anytime, for example, anytime you are using free trial license, if you upload a Splunk Enterprise license or developer license, you cannot go back to the free license again. You have to go in the licensing. You will see by default. So what happens is, if you go with the free trial, when you create account, you can download Splunk Enterprise. You did not get license separately for free trial. Any Splunk Enterprise that you install, by default, it is coming with the pre-deployed free trial license. Get what I mean? And free trial license will be enabled automatically. Even though if I have the license, when I will download, I can install directly without applying the license, because it comes by default with free trial. Then I have to go in the licensing. Then I have to apply my enterprise license. Get what I mean? So anytime if you apply enterprise license from free trial, you cannot go back to the trial license. Get what I mean? Anytime you go the free license, you cannot move back to the free trial. Understand? Clear? Is this clear to everyone? Any confusion?
Yes, sir.
We'll talk about the violation of license. What happens if Splunk violate the license? But till here, it is clear.
Yes,
So the clarity of licensing, which license we went to use, right?
Yes.
So you understand which component will use the license. So another license is called a forwarder license. One more license is called as forwarder license. License called as forwarder license. Forwarder. Another license called as forwarder license. Forwarder license is for heavy forwarder. Is only for heavy forwarder. When you go on the licensing, right? You understand, first time when you install a Splunk Enterprise, free trial license is there, right? A free trial license will get expired in 16 days, 60 days. So if you want to make any component as a heavy forwarder, then if you configure free trial, after that it will expire and many functionality will get disabled, right? But you don't want to index the logs from that particular instance, heavy forwarder, then go on the licensing. Who is this? Syed. Amal Syed. So, in heavy forwarder, you're not going to index the logs. If you're not going to index logs, right? Then you can go in the licensing and select forwarder license. It is free and you don't need to upload any license. Just select the license checkbox as forwarder license. In not to upload any license, free license, do not need to update. Forwarder functionality, it will work without applying enterprise license. Because you understand, forwarder is not going to store the logs, not going to index the log, not use the license. But in case you want forwarder to index the logs, also store the logs, in that case, in this forwarder, you have to apply the Splunk, which license? Enterprise license. Understand? Clear this?
The video is stuck.
Video is stuck. But my voice was clear, right?
Yes, clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
1 minute. Video is stuck. Okay. So what is telling? So what I was telling, that forwarder license, in case you don't want to keep the local copy of the logs from the heavy forwarder, go for the forwarder license. In case you want to keep the local copy also, you have to go with the Splunk
Forwarder license.
enterprise license. If you want to keep the local copy, index and want to keep the local copy, you have to go with the Splunk enterprise license. So you might have a question in your mind. For example, you bought the license for 10 GB per day, right? So when the calculation will happen, how much you have used today, and what happens if you use, if you're getting the logs per day, you have got more than 10 GB. What will happen in that case?
Logs will not come.
What do you think?
It will come.
So what will happen in that case?
Might be a violation.
It will be a violation of.
It will be a violation of license.
right? It's correct. It's a violation of license. If you bought the license for 10 GB per day, you are receiving more event. That means a violation of license, right? So in that case, what will happen? So
In few
what
instances,
Some
I
kind
think
of warning.
they have warnings, right? They give you
Mhm.
1 to 3 warnings and then
Warning
They will
to
give a
the license.
warning for 5 times. 5 times violation
Well-
they will accept, and after that they will.
Okay, this is a very important question from interview perspective. So what happens is in Splunk enterprise license, you know what happens for any license, calculation of the license uses happen midnight 12 o'clock, 12 a.m. right? 12 if you're using GMT time, whatever time you have configured. For example, we have configured GMT plus 5:30. That means India time, right? So every day, 12 a.m. license calculation will happen. You bought the license for 10 GB per day. If you receive the logs more than 10 GB for last 1 day, it will generate a warning. Okay, you can see in the message on your your message bar on the Splunk. It will generate a warning, right? If there are 5 warning in a month, it will call a violation of license. In enterprise license, if there's a 5 warning, means 5 times you have used more license. After using more license, it will generate a warning. If there are 5 times warning generates, it will be called as a violation of license. In the free trial license, if generate 3 warnings in a month, it will be called as violation of license. For enterprise, 5 license, 5 warning, and for free trial, how many warning?
3.
5.
3 warnings. For Splunk enterprise, 5 warnings, and for Splunk free trial license, 3 warning will be called as violation of license within a month.